Welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Matt Porteous.
Thank you. And thank you for inviting me.
I'm glad to have you on. We had your co-host, Mr. Magnum himself, James Steele.
Yes, the man of steel.
Oh, that's a good one. I was thinking more like the lines of like a good porn name.
Yeah. Well, I was watching the one where you talked with him, and in all the 9 years that I've known him, I've never associated it with that.
You ever seen Zoolander?
Yeah. So
Blue
Blue
Steel.
Steel.
Yeah, Blue
Yeah,
Steel. That's immediately what
definitely.
I thought of. I was
Yeah.
like, is that a bad gig to really get into if you think about it? I mean, you're literally going to have your fans. You're going to have people that are going to watch you for certain parts about you, but then they're going to be committed. Like some people will only watch your videos that you create. So it's like, that's the best way to get famous. Just put your crotch up on the internet.
It's easy, isn't it? The same
Yeah.
with everything now. You can put whatever you want on the internet, and there's a certain hit ratio, isn't there, that you're going to get. You might be popular, or you might have a niche, whatever that niche that you want to explore.
What's your niche? I like to do it while I'm eating a quiche on top of
Exactly.
them. It's like,
Well, but
whoa.
have you seen the what are they called? There's a term for it, and I can't remember what the term is.
Kink?
But loads of people on YouTube eating, like just eating
Okay,
stuff. And I think it's got a Japanese name, maybe.
ASMR.
Yeah, it's similar to ASMR, when you've got the
Yeah, that's ASMR.
yeah.
So what it is I was actually going to do that before I did this podcast. So originally the idea for this, after it was sparked from like a phone call late at night, was I was going to record myself eating cereal, but
Nice.
dry. So there was no
Ooh,
milk in there. So it was like you would hear the when you get like a Raisin
yeah.
Bran flake stuck in your throat, and it was just going to be that, and then like. And then it would just be awkward pause, and then it would be like me filling the bowl back up and then just eating
Nice.
another bowl. He's like, he's going in for seconds, that whole
It's
thing.
not too late. You can do this.
Honestly,
What would you do though? Would it be an episode per serial? So like a video, oh, today I'm eating whatever.
probably. I mean, I could be the type of person that's like when you're creating a movie, you leave a cliffhanger that leads into like the
Yeah.
second. So I could give you like maybe the first half of the bowl of cereal, and then you have to wait till next week to hear the second half, where I get down to the
Yeah.
ending. You hear the spoon click against the rim of the bowl, and you're like, oh my God, it's almost over. Like it's like The Walking Dead when it hit the last episode. You're like, oh, this is it. This is what we've been waiting for all week. Oh my God.
And then he reaches for the packet.
Honestly, now that I really think about it, I'm really actually enjoying this idea that I might do that. But
You
honestly,
should.
as podcasters, we're looking for like what? Every view. We're trying to get
Yeah.
we're trying to build an audience. Putting our dick up on the internet is not a bad idea to get that sponsorship.
True.
Just
Maybe you should try OnlyFans. That's more of that. That can be your side hustle.
all right,
No.
Matt. Well, enough about the dark sides of the internet. Tell me a little bit about yourself, man.
So I'm Matt, otherwise known as King Porteous, which is I guess the internet name that I go by as such. Which I'm by day to pay the bills, as sort of similar to how James introduced himself the other day. To pay the bills, I'm a recruitment manager, so do that. But really, sort of at all other times, to fulfil my creative urges, I sort of do art. That's one of the main things I do art, do music, doing a podcast this week in Metropolis, write occasionally as well. Yeah, DJ, everything really. Just like I said, I have the creative urge. I don't know whether you're a creative person yourself, but it's sort of a burning desire. Let's call it. I have to express myself and get that sort of thing out.
Yeah, I feel like I did the James podcast a bit of a
Yeah,
disservice only on the factor of like it's called This Week in Metropolis, but it's
yeah.
not really all superhero talk. It's more on the lines of like anything pop culture,
Mm,
which I feel like it was just so hard for me because the name, it immediately makes me think of like an old time phone booth and Superman going
yeah,
into it.
and that's exactly where it came from, though. Is that sort of, and James touched upon it. We're in sort of where we work in the workplace. We would sit there and talk about stuff similar to this. You'd someone would say cereal, and then you're talking about ASMR, and then you're talking about something else, and it was just that flow of conversation. And one day I just thought, well, why don't we do something with this? I wanted to do a podcast, and I thought, well, same with everything I've found on the internet. It's often or sort of creating something, you think, I'd really like to do that. But then the next thing is, well, what do I do? What do I talk about? What do I draw? What do I, whatever it is. And it just seemed like a perfect mix of the two. We spend loads of time talking. Why don't we record ourselves talking and then put it out there and see if other people like it? And that's really where it stemmed from. And we approach it with a completely no rules attitude, really. Now, there are certain things we don't cover, and I think he touched upon it, like we don't get overly political, whereas in real life we would talk about these things, and we stay away from sort of relatively controversial things, because we like the universal appeal, I guess, of what we do cover, whether it be technology or superheroes, that sort of thing. And I
What's
think that's quite important.
controversial in the UK? Like, what would you consider controversial? Because, like, the biggest thing I can think of, which has been a heated debate, is whether it would be easier to die by a shark or a bear.
Really. But what's that in the US or in the UK?
In the
That's
US,
contra-
that's like that was a big thing in my family. I heard when I was like
really.
14 years old, my uncle and my dad were just arguing, and they were like, "By the time we're 60, I'm gonna drag your ass to Yellowstone with a thing of T-bones around your neck and just throw your old wrinkly ass out there and see what happens when a
See
bear
what
attacks
gets
you."
you first.
Yeah, and I'm like, I started thinking about it because I'm like, I've seen Jaws at this time. This is way before The Revenant came out, so I
Yeah,
was like, it's a shark. Like, it's a shark.
yeah.
It's just a shark. And then I saw The Revenant and I watched that bear pick up Leo and fucking thrash him to pieces. And I was like, oh, it's a bear. Because
It's a bet.
honestly, a shark's like, that's cool. It'll bite your leg off in one thing. But a bear's like biting into you. They don't rip everything completely off. So then I actually went down a deep ass rabbit hole of like, how could I survive a bear attack? And I'm like, I live in a beach town. There's no
Yeah.
fucking bears. So I don't know why I'm worried about it, but it was on my mind. I couldn't sleep.
Don't you
So
have a can of stuff? Isn't there some sort of bear spray or
there's
that
no,
that sort
that's
of thing?
like shark repellent. That's
Ah,
bullshit. That's like, I don't even know. It's like, you ever use ant repellent and it just doesn't
yeah.
work? And you're like, I still have ants. It's like, well, it just mildly aggravates them. And I'm like,
It makes them even more angry.
why are you going to aggravate something? Because usually when things get aggravated, they go away. I'm like, no, when you aggravate something, they come at you full fucking
Yeah.
regalian, like a battalion coming at you. And then like bear spray, and I'm like, how many people have used bear spray in front of a bear and then it didn't work? And then like, are there any people that are suing the companies on that?
Yeah. See, in the UK, we don't really have anything dangerous animal wise. Like there's not really snakes. I think there are some snakes, but they're not dangerous. You don't get dangerous spiders. You don't get necessarily wild animals. Or the wild animals you get in Norfolk, where we live, which is on the east coast. There's lots of forest and there's lots of open land. You get deer and things like that, but it's not anything that's going to threaten your life. So I think from a UK perspective, reading articles from the US, which has a huge amount of dangerous things, where I know the recent article I read, or not really recent, but so a mountain lion, some guy saved himself from a mountain lion by ramming his fist down its throat so it couldn't breathe or something like that. Amazing stuff.
I saw that on, I forgot what it was, like craziest deaths or craziest events
Yeah.
in history, and a dude got attacked by a bobcat and he ripped the cat's tongue out. And it was like
Amazing.
the legit saying, "Cat got your tongue." And what he did
Yeah.
was he just pulled it, and it's like connected down inside of you. So when it ripped out, it like just ripped everything. And I was like, oh, like that's a thing. It makes
What
me
sort
like
of
really
strength?
like I
Didn't it?
couldn't even open up the fucking pickle jar, and
Yeah.
this guy's taking down a bobcat with his
Yeah.
bare hand, and he was an elderly man. Like
Mate.
he's like, "I've been in Nam," and then just freaking took this bobcat's tongue out of his mouth. I'm like, oh.
Insane.
If you could
Yeah.
live in a video game, which video game would you live in?
Street Fighter 2.
What?
That that's only because, well, that's my all-time favorite. I have a Street Fighter 2 arcade machine in my house because I love Street Fighter 2.
Like the
Uh,
actual old school?
yeah, yeah, old school one.
You got to put quarters in it and everything?
No, it's modified so you press the button and it just adds credits. Yeah,
That's freaking dope. They sell
yeah,
those at Walmart, but they're like half the size of the original. I'm like,
yeah,
look,
and they're not the same.
if I'm gonna buy one, it's got to be like I need Mortal
Yeah,
Kombat or something. I mean, I'm a big Mortal Kombat fan. I think I have a Street Fighter Funko Pop, which is the green one. It's the green guy with the
Blanca.
yeah with the orange hair.
Yeah,
But
I've just always loved it. I remember when I was young, sort of being at school and going to the local video shop that had a load of arcade machines and happy memories. And when I was sort of for my 30th birthday, my wife said to me, "What do you want? It's a big birthday. You know, what do you want to celebrate that?" And that was it. I want an arcade machine, and there it sits.
have you noticed that your perspective changes when you're a kid? Like, especially when it comes to owning a home? Because I
Mm.
remember playing The Sims when I was a child, and like, there was a vending machine as soon as you walked in the door. There was a game room. There was like a millions of like, I would think I want arcade machines all over my house. And then I look at
Yeah,
like where I'm at now, and everything's like a bed, a
yeah,
TV. Make sure we have food in the house. And it's like my perspective, it changes. Like I want to
yeah,
be like my grandfather where he's just buying dumb shit to buy dumb
yeah.
stuff. I'm like, what are you doing with your life? He's like, I bought coloring books. I'm like, for what? He's like, I want to color
Because I can.
sometimes.
It's a dream. But the guy that we bought the arcade machine off, he had a double length garage, I should say, and it's full front to back of arcade machines. Like there must have been, I don't know, 30 plus. And I remember walking into this place thinking, wow, this I've always wanted that one. I've always wanted that one. I've always wanted that one. But yeah. But his wife, and the story is that going back to what you said, he was selling all of his arcade machines because his wife wanted an extension in the house. So he was clearing them out.
What do you do in the morning to kind of like, I know it seems like I'm just tossing out random questions here, but
No, I like it. It's
I've been
good.
thinking deep on this because like
Yeah.
I always start my morning off with like a thing to kind of get my day started. It's not masturbating. It is I check my phone on Facebook Marketplace because
Right.
people just post something so stupid as like that's the purpose of it. Like a dude had a grilled cheese picture. And I was like, okay, what's this? And I clicked on it, it's him holding a grilled cheese, and he's like, grilled cheese sandwich. It's $9,999. He and in the description he goes, I made this grilled cheese using cheese that's been left in my refrigerator for months after their expiration date. I've dropped it on the floor 4 times. It's a beautiful grilled cheese. And I'm just like, this is what people do. And then like somebody set up Star Wars action figures like in dirty positions. And I'm like, I like this is just enjoyment because there's one person like there's a person that posted up like I wonder who's gonna click on this, and then you're
Yeah.
viewing it at 2 o'clock in the morning or something. You're like, this is
Exactly.
awesome.
God. I wish my morning routine was as exciting as that
What do you
because
do?
it really isn't. Well, and as a parent, it's all around children, unfortunately. So wake up, make sure they're sorted. Uh, Personally, it is wake up, have a smoothie to start the day, check my phone, like the Instagram and Twitter mainly, and then have a shower. I'm sorry to disappoint you.
Yeah,
Among arguing with children and
I
so on
question
and
your
so on.
morning if you have a smoothie before you get in the
Smoothie,
shower.
yeah, yeah.
Don't you want it
Why?
after?
No, no, because you have it first, and then I clean my teeth and have a shower, so it's like fresh for the day. Otherwise, if I had it afterwards, it'd upset my OCD because I clean my teeth before the shower, so
Oh, so you know what must really piss
I'd
you
be
off?
out of sync. I'd be out of sync. I have to do it a certain way.
There's
Yeah.
people that clean their teeth in the shower. How
Oh
does
no,
that
no,
hit
no.
you?
No, I've got an electric toothbrush. It is waterproof, but then I think, well, what if? Do you know what I mean?
I just think
Isn't it?
that's too much going on in a scenario. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm good at multitasking, but I'm like, you're cleaning off all the dirt that's on your body. I don't want any of that landing on my
No.
toothbrush. But
And
then
how do you wash while you clean?
my cousin goes, you have your toothbrush outside of like a medicine cabinet. Then when you're going to the bathroom, the poop particles hit your toothbrush. And then I'm just like,
Mm.
so what's the fucking fix? Because I hate mint toothpaste. I'll only buy strawberry or chocolate or whatever the hell other
Chocolate
they
toothpaste?
have chocolate toothpaste.
No.
I had it
No.
one time and it was actually pretty good. They used have you ever seen like there's a black toothpaste called it's
Yeah.
like volcanic ash or something it's supposed to call?
Charcoal sort of based,
Yeah.
isn't
What the fuck is that? That made
it?
my whole kitchen sink a mess. I was like,
Yeah.
like you have to clean the sink sometimes. I'm like, how did
Yeah.
it get on the ceiling? Like, I don't understand. It leaves your mouth looking like you just ate dirt.
Yeah.
It's like
Nasty.
Pompeii
Yeah.
went off on your toothbrush.
See, I'm the opposite to you. I like really minty. I like to finish that experience where I feel like it's everything is fresh. So yeah,
I'm the guy that
super
goes into a
minty.
store and buys bubble mint. And they're like, that's a children's toothpaste. I'm like, okay,
So
my whole damn life is being adult. I would like to brush my
yeah,
teeth like I was 6 years old again.
that's it. Why not?
Why can't
And
life
that's the
just be that
freedom of
simple?
being an adult. You can buy whatever you want, and it's live your life that way if you choose.
That's why all right, so this actually leads back to the shark question, which you didn't answer, a shark or a bear.
Oh no, I didn't, did I? I don't. I love the water. I love the sea. We live by the coast. Um,
I'm noticing
but
with the background, you have a beach
But
behind.
yeah, that's it. That's my beach behind. But the thought of drowning is awful. Like that's one of the things I thought I wouldn't want to die by drowning. So shark related, that would probably be the worst because it'd drag you under and so on. I think a bear would finish you pretty quickly as well.
Have
So
you
that's
ever almost drowned before?
no. It does. What it stems from is as a child, I was asthmatic. I'm still asthmatic to a certain amount, um, but that feeling of not breathing, and that's what it is with drowning. That thought of not being able to breathe.
I've had a panic attack before. I know
Yeah,
people always talk about like, oh, panic attack is not that bad. No, it's pretty bad. It
yeah,
is it is like I like imminent death. Like you feel like
yeah,
this is it. Like I remember I had a panic attack one time. I had to like lean up against the wall and then I just sunk down to the floor and I was like, everybody needs to stay away from me right now. It feels like the walls are closing in. But drowning's actually pretty easy. Um Surprisingly, I've
it's
almost
a
done it.
really easy option.
It's I've almost done it twice. I did it when I was really
Really?
little, and then I one time was trying to hold my breath, and it was like I was trying to go around a full. I used to work at a water park, so I used to go around
Yeah,
the full length of the lazy river by holding my breath. Fucking
yeah,
hard as shit, but I would keep testing myself. And towards the end of the summer, I got so close to the ending, but like it was like the point where there was no air. You felt the lungs compressing, like they were
oh,
about to give out, and then you started seeing the tunnel of vision start to fade in and out.
yeah,
And I was like, just a little bit more. And then after that, there was like this peaceful moment. And I was like, oh, this is
yeah,
where you die. And then I had to hop
yeah.
up real quick.
No way.
It's like I
Well,
always thought like the worst way to go would be burning alive. But then
yeah.
I
That,
talked to a few people that had gotten like severely burned to the point where they almost died and had to get skin graft. And they're
mm,
like, it surprisingly feels good.
mm.
And apparently it's so much pain that the pain turns into pleasure, which
The
is really,
endorphins that your body's
yeah.
releasing, I guess, isn't it?
I was like, because that reminds me of the scene from The Gray, where he's like, "There's gonna be a like a curtain or a blanket of warmth that's gonna come over you, and then you're just gonna be gone." And he's like in a lot of pain. That you just see him like smile, and then that curtain of warmth go over him, and he just fades away. I'm like, wow. So like your last couple seconds are really good. So like,
Dear me.
if I jump off a skyscraper and I hit the ground, is that like millisecond before feel amazing, or does it just?
You'll never know
These are the questions we need to be
until
answered.
that happens.
You're
Yeah,
supposed to be giving me the news in Metropolis. Where's the people jumping off skyscrapers, Wall Street style?
exactly. That's it. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, what do you want to talk about? Because I want to talk about people jumping off buildings.
I don't know. I don't know, man. I
do,
would talk about anything.
do you focus on, because I know I said I kind of did a disservice with the superheroes. What is a topic that you generally get passionate about on This Week in Metropolis?
The ones I really like talking about that really interest me is the new technology, and that's something I sort of generally pick out stories from. Just crazy stuff like we've talked about Neuralink, which have you heard of something called Neuralink?
New
It's
Rule Inc.
Neuralink, yeah.
Oh, the brain thing.
Yeah, that's it. Which Elon Musk has a company developing it, and just the thought of you see movies with that sort of thing in it, and it's it goes on into your brain. That very thin connectors and it feed into your brain, and the theory is in the future you would be able to connect your brain to the internet. So it, but basically what Elon has said is with mobile phones, we're already sort of cyborgs. You don't remember everything because you can Google it. You don't necessarily know people's numbers because it's on the phone, or you can take a picture and take that capture that memory. But it's a slow interface. You have to switch the phone on. You have to tap, like your Facebook Marketplace. You have to actually physically open the app. With Neuralink, it would be there
Well, where do
because
you stand on it, though?
I like the idea, but I'm split in two with it. I'm a big fan of new technologies, and I'm a big fan of using it for this. Like, for example, we can set up a podcast for free using free software and do it high quality, and it's fantastic. It enables us to do a load, but I think connecting your brain to something. There are so many incidents where companies are hacked
Yeah.
that they're sort of brought down in whatever ways. Imagine if your brain was hacked. Imagine if your account that you'd registered with Neuralink was then victim to someone getting into it. Could they wipe your brain? Could they
Could it make you?
replace your brain?
But
Could they?
we've already brainwashed people in the past, so it's not like
Yeah.
we'd be doing anything new. It would just be
No.
literally you're volunteering to get brainwashed
Yeah.
at this point without us
Yeah.
slowly doing it through like McDonald's Happy Meals toys.
You'd be doing it more efficiently because it would just be like that, to do, which is a really scary thing. But wouldn't you like to, that the thought in the future with it is it's almost, if you've seen like Avatar, when everything is connected on this sort of, and I guess like in Star Wars, the Jedis, you're connected by this all present sort of force. That's in a way what Neuralink could enable you to do. Because if everyone's brain is connected on the network, I could sit here and think something and send it to you.
I think would be amazing with the fact that you would be able to share someone's perspective if you could do what they do in Avatar, where you could take your hair and link it up to
Yeah.
somebody else's. I don't know if that's how they have sex, so I don't want to have sex with everyone I meet. I would just like to see their point of view. But
What if you did it by accident? You're in a shop and accidentally you think the wrong thing and then it associates it with that.
that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. It goes back to the superpowers thing. If you could like make somebody think something, you had mind powers, like
Yeah.
you can't. I would never want to be Professor Xavier because I would make people do the dumbest shit. And I would hate to hear what people have to think sometimes. Like I'm more than I
Yeah.
want to hear you say it with your words. I don't want to be involuntary hit with
No,
it. Like think like a
exactly.
woman, where he's like thinking he can hear everybody women's thoughts, then he can't get it to stop. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's a lot like Superman. Like focus
Yeah.
on one thing and then sift through the sea of all the other stuff. When
Yeah.
he's like a child and he had too many senses going on.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's the best thing here? I mean,
Yeah.
we're thinking in the object of where we're going to progress society with the fact of Neuralink. But I know people, and I know people tend to do the lazy shit and the fun shit, which
Yeah.
happens to be like, I'm going to look up porn while I'm in the middle of class instead of doing my history report.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, because I can learn stuff really easily because my brain's connected to something. Happy thing. Yeah, the other thing, have you seen that related to this? There was a documentary on Netflix about genetic engineering. Did you see
I've
that?
seen a few things on genetic engineering. I like
Uh,
some of the stuff when they're able to. All right, because this is kind of like a heated, actually, topic when America, when it comes to
mm,
changing somebody's genetic makeup. I don't believe like, oh, I want blue eyes, and then you can inject
yeah.
blue eyes. I don't like that. But what I do like is the fact if they're able to come across an anomaly in your brain, such as it's like
Mm,
being mentally challenged or knowing that your
yeah.
kid is going to be mentally challenged, being able to inject something in there to be able to fix that. Not saying
Yeah.
it isn't that all kids aren't beautiful, but the aspect of if you know you can give your kid a better chance at life by
Yeah.
fixing that. But
Yeah.
we don't stop there. We go to the point like I
Yeah.
can change your baby's skin color. It's like, do you want
Yeah.
this? And then you're sitting in the room
Yeah.
like, um, I I would like
That's
my
it.
baby to be the same skin color. Well, we can
Yeah.
make him blue, and he's gonna
Yeah.
have one eye, and he's a pirate. You're like,
Well,
oh fuck, our baby better be funny. Like, jeez.
in this documentary, there's lots of people because it was the people in the labs doing it, and then the people that are biohackers. They call themselves, and they do it. You or I, but do have a shed in the garden or a garage where they do genetic research because the technology is quite cheap. And there was a guy who bred dogs, and he was trying to make it the first test to see if he could genetically engineer his dogs was to see if he could make them glow in the dark. And that was literally what he was doing.
Why would
Yeah,
you want that?
because he could. That was it. It was right. I can if I get my dog to glow, or get the dog's puppies to glow, I know I've succeeded. In that first step, which is crazy. And I
Even
agree with you. It's like the first. If you can, if you've got someone with a disease or with a condition that you know will be passed on, and you can eliminate that, great. But these things then, if you've got a dog that glows in the dark and that dog then breeds, you've then got lots of dogs that glow in the dark. Or if
why
you change something that's slightly wrong, that is then passed
why
through.
is why is history always repeating itself? This is the
Yeah,
same idea Hitler had about breeding a
exactly.
perfect race, and you
Yeah,
saw how that turned out. I mean,
yeah.
see, because this is like if you ever play the game The Walking Dead, the one with Lee Everett,
No, I
there's
haven't.
like they're kind of like you get to survive and go into the city in one of the chapters, and then they start noticing all these people that are on spikes, and they're like, what the hell is that? And it's this community that ended up getting taken over by zombies. But when they first started out, they took all the old people and all the sick people and just killed them, and they built
Mm,
this strong race. So if you ended up being sick or something, you would just get sent out. And I'm
yeah,
like, oh, so they tried to create like a super race of people, like a superior group, like only the strongest will survive, which is like it's heartless, but it's like not a bad idea of like wanting to make sure that you can keep like, if you have a dude that can bench press 500 pounds and then a person that has like one arm, one leg, needs to be fed like a tablet every 90 minutes to survive. It's like, who are you going to keep? Like, you know what I mean?
yeah. That's in a survival situation, though, isn't it? Sort of, which I guess makes it us not being in a zombie apocalypse. You don't know, do you? But the scary thing with it is that there's research into which again is a positive thing. People in Africa suffer a huge amount from mosquitoes and malaria and that sort of thing, and they're able to sort of inject something into the mosquitoes, which then causes them not being able to breed. It would, I can't remember whether it makes all of them male, like every other sort of
Well,
um.
that's what we do with mules, donkeys, and horses.
Really?
When you breed, so to get a mule, you need to breed a donkey and you need to breed a horse.
Hmm.
But with a mule, you can't breed a mule. Their sperm is just blank. It's nothing. So they can't
Yeah.
repopulate. So the only way you can keep getting mules is if you breed a donkey and a horse.
Crazy.
Same thing with a liger, a lion and a tiger.
Yeah.
Those things exist. It's not just off Napoleon
Well,
Dynamite.
see, whenever I think of that, I think of Napoleon Dynamite, and
Yeah.
it's a mythical creature. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a legit actual thing. We went batshit nuts and did it, but they have blank cells. So it's like they can't repopulate. So we have to keep breeding that lion and
Mm.
tiger to get a liger, you know?
And that's scary. What if they then, yeah, and what I was thinking with that is the danger is, what if they then do that to humans and that's weaponized?
Okay, so I
That's the
literally
thing.
just this morning was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast where he was
Yeah.
talking about this. Now, he mentioned something that all these scientists and researchers that he's had on, the one thing they can't explain, and it kind of leads into aliens a little bit, is if they're already here, is the fact that the human brain has expanded twice its size from the very, very smart compared to every other species in a matter of 2 million years. And it's one of the things in our fossil record that is unexplained, that we just don't
Yeah.
know yet. So I'm like, if you were aliens and you see these, you're just deciding, look at all these little things, let me pick one and help it advance. You do something to it, next thing you know, millions and
Yeah.
millions of years later, now we're people walking around doing stuff. How are we so smart and figured everything out compared to all the other things that don't even know how to use their thumbs? Like an ape
Yeah.
is the closest to being the next step level of intelligence compared to the human race. So I'm like,
Yeah.
like, that makes me think, is there,
Mm.
like, I'm not questioning life. Is there aliens? Is Justin
Mm.
Timberlake an alien? I don't know. He looks like it sometimes.
Maybe. I believe in aliens, and I don't dispute that if we're here, there's going to be a planet somewhere with like the equivalent to us, or whatever that planet's thing is. But I just question when you get people saying, I was taken somewhere. I was, I was taken to this spaceship and they took out my kidneys and, did whatever to me. It's those sort of things that I question, but I don't know.
Well, during
It's,
this whole pandemic thing, the government released the truth that there were aliens or
yeah,
unidentified flying objects, and nobody said shit.
no,
Not
exactly.
not even just in September, we were all bitching and complaining about trying to storm Area 51, and then
Yeah,
now it's like nobody gives a shit because there's this invisible virus, and everybody's like, it's all a political conspiracy. It's all this. I'm like, the weird thing about the virus is the fact that it has been shown that it has been modified. So now
right.
people are thinking that it's a weapon. People are thinking it's this. The factor is, wherever this thing originated we were experimenting on it. There's been other
Yeah,
coronaviruses out there. This is just the only one that's really taken a hold of us. And I'm looking at it,
yeah,
that's America, or that's not
yeah,
America. That's people.
yeah,
We're literally the death to our own race on the factor
yeah,
of we just can't stop exploring shit. Every movie you've ever seen, Prometheus, all these other ones.
yeah,
Oh, gotta send and investigate this. How about you leave it the fuck alone so this
yeah,
giant sea kraken like monster doesn't come out of the thing because we were blowing up or throwing dynamite out in the ocean to fish.
yeah. But it does, I think, with the whole coronavirus thing, it's shown us, like, as humans, it's shown us that we're not that evolved. I think to a certain extent, you think there's that confidence in, oh yeah, we've got medicine, we've got this stuff, we've got technology, we're all right, we can conquer everything. No, actually, you can't. There are things that we've just not caught up with,
If
and it's
if I literally kind of think of what the future is going to be like, I think it's either going to be one of two things. So I'm going to kind of read you off both, and you're
good.
going to have to, I feel like you're going to be swayed to my second one. The
Yeah.
first one I think is society is going to evolve to a point where you're going to need to split it up into two things. It's going to be like The Simpsons, where you have domes.
Mm,
There's going to be a society that's not progressed, such as the people that still want to drive around in the automobile. And then there's the
yeah.
people that want to have a chip in their head, that want to do
Yeah.
everything by technology, use a transporter to teleport everywhere. And that they're going to split the societies up like that. The second one is we're going to end up creating something like fucking Skynet. And then it's all going to literally, we're going to be taken over by robots and shit that are going to be
Yeah.
way smarter than us. So it's going to end up more like iRobot. We're going to build
Yeah.
these servants and things. And next thing you know, Will Smith has to save everybody's life.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I would. It's such a hard choice. I would like it to be the first way round, like the first option. Not that that's a good option because so many people are left behind, but I see it now. I don't know if you see it. My sort of the older generation, particularly, my mum won't send an email. She won't send a text message. She says, "Oh, I can't do that. That's online. I can't do this. Whatever." Even though online banking, all of this stuff is so convenient, like just day to day. And I just think that on a small level, if people won't start using technology for these simple things, when it comes to, like you said, a self-driving car or whatever it may be, they're never going to do them. They're absolutely never going to
Well,
be
it's
involved.
it's like doing the genetic engineering, because now I just thought of a third scenario instead of the other two I tossed out. It's gonna end up like fucking Wall-E, where everybody's 800
Yeah,
pounds in bed sit up for us. Like,
that
I refuse Alexa. I refuse.
yeah,
I don't like direct deposit. I like having the check in my hand. I like seeing the money that I've worked so hard to earn. I like these types of things. People are like, but your life would be so much easier. My buddy, one of my best friends from my very first episode, his house is Alexa'd up to the point where
mm,
it can control the toilet if you ask it to.
yeah,
Like, that's too much for me. I'm not a
yeah,
guy that's like, oh, they're listening into my conversation. I'm not that guy. I'm just
yeah,
like, it's laziness. Like,
yeah,
the I think the most leveler in life is when you sit down to watch a movie at night and the fucking light's still on. And you're like, oh, I got to turn the
yeah,
kitchen light off. And then you got to get up and walk into the kitchen and flick the
yeah,
switch. That's needed. That little walk of
yeah.
shame is the thing that, like, is a leveler that I swear, if kids don't have today, we're going to be living in a society where just everybody's like, give me this, give me that. It's like, hold on, you have to pay for that. No, I just want this. It's like, okay, they
Mm.
need to scan a barcode on the back of their neck and it takes years off their life, like Justin.
True, but it's the Skynet thing is not again. There's the positive side of me that thinks, man, I hope that doesn't happen. But because, and I'm glad you said like Alexa, I won't have Alexa or I've got a Google Home thing, but we literally use it for the radio. It gets switched off and then you'll switch it on and say play whatever and it plays it. But just it's too much for I'm I use an Android phone, I use Gmail, all that stuff. You're aware that, and even like using Zoom, by using that free service, you're the product. They're not doing it, giving it free for any reason apart from they've got your data. And I read a lot about these things, and fine, whatever. Be careful or whatever. But the thought of something listening always in the house is too much for
I
me.
wonder, like, what if they're gonna, like, Zoom's gonna take my data from this. Like, I don't, they're not really getting any valuable information. But like,
No.
I did a podcast that was like 2 hours long, and it was a lot about government stuff,
Mm,
with the guys from the Sons of History. And that whole episode just vanished. Like, I couldn't recover it. I sent multiple emails and they just said, sorry, no data was ever recorded. I was like, I know for a
really?
fact because I watched my computer try and convert it, and then it hit
Yeah.
36% and then said error code. And then it gave me this 03021. I was like, what does that mean? And I spent weeks emailing them about trying to get it back. We ended up having to record another episode where I just
No
didn't
way.
mention one specific thing. And next thing you know, it was able to go up
It's
there.
there. Yeah.
I was
That's
like,
it.
I get it, but it's like, the more you try and hide shit, I feel like if you were just honest about a lot of the stuff you're doing, people are gonna
Yeah.
not give a shit. Like,
Yeah.
the Area 51 thing, I said the easy cure and fix to that was just charge people $5 a head to go in there and
Mm,
check it out. You're gonna
yeah.
have the people that are gonna be like, my life is shattered. Like, you
Yeah.
guys are keeping this from us. Like, we told you we were doing it for your protection. But then
Yeah.
there's gonna be people like, I fucking knew it, and they're like walking out
Yeah.
with like double guns in the air, like, woo! I knew
Yeah.
it. They got clones of Christopher Walken in tubes in the back. Like, that would have been so much easier if they would have just did it like that, but they didn't
Yeah.
do it that way. They were like, let me keep it secret, and then they released it during a time of a legit crisis where people are like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'd rather focus on should I wear a mask or should I not? And I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh man, guys, let's focus on the alien thing because maybe they have the cure. Maybe
Maybe
it's a
they have the cure, exactly.
maybe
It
getting
could be.
probed is the cure to coronavirus.
Yeah. But I do think it is the whole Wally scenario. That's, being at home, like from when it started sort of kicking off the pandemic in the UK from March, I've been working from home, and usually I would drive to work, and it's sort of a 40-minute commute and so on. And being at home, like, you soon realise I don't really need to leave the house. And that's been a real thing for me. And being, I'm not antisocial, but I can live without that sort of contact. And but it just makes you aware that you can do stuff like this. Like, I speak to my team every day via Microsoft Teams by video, and we have that sort
Yeah,
of
but you can't
contact.
get a hand job this way.
No, you can't. Not yet. But I'm sure they'll.
That's what we should be working
When that
on.
comes, you'll never leave the house. I'm
Well,
telling you.
that was a big debate when the sex or the robot came out. Everybody was like, "What happens if people just use them for sex?" I'm like, "You still need the actual connection between like a
Yeah,
person. Like, unless you're Bill Cosby and you just like it lifeless, like you
yeah,
still need the." Oh God, hold on, I hurt myself with that one. But like, you still need that connection and thing too. But I just look at like if you've ever like in the states or at least close to where I live, when I go up to my grandparents' house, they're about an hour away. They're out in the country. So like I'll be driving and I'll just see McDonald's trash all in the gutters and just how
yeah,
people are more than willing to throw trash somewhere or put it somewhere. And it's the same thing we do in our life. Like all the trash that we have that gets sent to the dump, it's all in specific locations, but at the factor of like where we just keep dumping it there and hoping like thinking it
mm,
goes away, so we're creating
yeah,
way more waste. And it makes me think like, do I have to turn into an environmentalist where I'm like,
mm,
let's stop and let's reduce, reuse, recycle, that whole thing? But it's like
yeah,
we're gonna at one point when we start doing space travel or being able to actually do space shuttle missions where we can have
yeah,
people transferred to other planets and colonization and all this shit, we're going to be thinking about like, all right, well, Earth is not really one we're living on anymore. So I'm just going to
yeah,
dump my trash there, dump my trash there. And eventually it's going to be like a trash planet where I'm like, come on,
mm,
guys. Like, who still wants to? I don't think I would ever want to move off Earth. I
no.
don't like a lot of new shit. I don't want to have to go to a whole new planet. Like, how do I mark my territory there? I guess by taking a dump on it and being like, all right, now it feels like home. But I like love this kind of thing that we're on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true. But the part of me, well, 2 points with that. Jeff Bezos said not that long ago that because he's exploring space travel, and he said we should use like the moon, for example. I don't know whether it's specifically the moon. We should have like an outer planet or an outer thing where we do all our manufacturing, we process our waste, we do all of that stuff somewhere else, so we can keep the Earth clean, basically,
It's not a
which is
bad idea.
great in theory, isn't it? Once you can move between the two.
So, all
Um,
right, I do want to add this before we get off of the
yeah,
Skynet thing because I don't want that to be lost. There is actually a government research facility called the Center for I think it's called the Center for Existential Risk, and it's literally a group of about 5 or 10 people that get a budget about $500 million per year, and all they do is monitor everything that's coming out technology wise before it's released, making sure
yeah,
that there isn't going to be this Skynet scenario where technology becomes smarter than man. In
yeah,
1968, one of the first supercomputers were ever built, and it was this giant fucking thing that was like it was 1968 or 1978, but it was this giant computer that was built, and they built I think two of them that were kind of like mixed together into one. But they started at like I think a week in started developing their own speech code of talking to one another, like they were already so then we
yeah,
shut that off and we just didn't even rekindle it that we know of. So I'm just like,
yeah.
it's gonna happen. So I'm like,
Mm,
we got this center of people that are studying it, hoping that like the next iPhone is gonna be like some fucking Transformers scenario where it's like
yeah.
turning into stuff. But going on to, if you look at any government project, the government has done some really good stuff in theory, but really shitty shit.
Mm,
Uh,
yeah.
for instance, Project A119 which was during the space race, where everybody's kind of like trying to figure out who wants to get to the moon first, all this type of shit. Well, we were going to launch nukes at the moon to test our power and show everybody, hey, we have nukes. This is what we can do. Don't mess with us as a country.
Mm.
But then some guy just came in and was like, yeah, if we do that, we're going to mess up all space research
Yeah.
ever, because then you're going to have radiation in there that could not be part of its natural thing.
Mm.
So we'll never know how to survive up there. So you're going to completely ruin space for everybody. And
Yeah.
they're like, all right, we can't do that because we have another project where we're trying to colonize on the moon, which is still in theory. We had the
Mm.
little drawn out maps and shit. But then the names of these things are fucking amazing. Operation Starship Prime, which was launching nukes at the ozone layer to be able to disintegrate some of that to reduce the ozone layer. I'm like, fucking Bill Gates had the idea of tossing, I think, like dust or something up at the sun to do something to reduce radiation. And I'm like, these are all really great in theory, but think of the other
Yeah.
shit. Like,
Terrible ideas.
wait 10 years on this plan, and you're gonna be like,
Yeah.
oh wait, there's this that would happen. Okay, you
Yeah.
can't do that. Like, it's like getting a tattoo. Think about it.
Yeah. But with things like that, I'm not a scientist. And if you said to me, yeah, let's blow up the moon, or you know, let's do something to the sun, even as a normal man on the street, you think that's a bad idea. I don't think we should mess with that sort of thing. It's crazy.
I would rather go back to when we had the idea of plant perception. I don't know if you've ever heard of this,
No, what's
but
that?
we did a science experiment basically where we hooked up to a fern a bunch of like one of those things that kind of read your pulse, like a lie detector test.
Mm.
But we did these sensors on every single one of its leaves, and we were testing to see if plants could feel emotion, like could give off emotion. Because I think for so long we thought that, like, oh, yelling at your plants, singing to your plants, like people talk to their plants because they think it helps it grow or it affects the rate
Yeah.
of growth or something. Mostly it's the carbon dioxide in our voices. But they were thinking, like, if a plant could perceive emotion, how would we do this? So when they hooked up all these sensors to a plant, what they did was they took shrimp and they boiled it in a pot on a stove. And they would, when they were killing these shrimp, like they were alive, they weren't just raw.
Mm.
And when they were killing these shrimp, they were trying to see if the plant would give off some type of emotion that could sense the pain from the shrimp. And I think it was like 38 out of like 100 something that it was a positive. So it was like, this is inconclusive. It obviously is a failed experiment. I'm like,
Yeah.
can we relook on that? Because there are literally a thing of trees in Africa that are linked to their roots, where if a certain insect is eating this plant, the other tree will send a frequency through the roots like a brainstem to the other ones and tell them to change the color or change the taste of their leaves. So then the next time when those insects go over there to eat those leaves, they eat it like, this tastes fucking terrible, and they walk off. I'm like, it's fucking Avatar. Like,
Yeah, it is.
what? Like, where would you
Yeah.
fund your money? I'm putting it all in
Yeah.
plant shit. I'm like, I think
Yeah.
plants are going to end up like The Happening with Mark Wahlberg, where they're trying to fucking kill us because they're like, I'm tired of this shit. I don't want to be lying down in front of my lawnmower. That's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah. I love that. I buy into that stuff a huge amount. I've got a load of plants sort of in my room here where I'm sitting, not just the palm tree.
Yeah, there's a
But
heavy wind back there we're not
that
picking up.
is
I'm glad.
in reality, Norfolk is like that at the moment. Where I live is exactly like that. It's very windy. But yeah, I know there's a certain peacefulness that plants bring. I think that's just me. The sort of vibe that I get from them. There is something there, and I think even sort of last week being in the sea and being in the coast and being in the sea and having that connection to nature. And there's that primal thing. I think with humans, you connect in some way to it, definitely.
And people are
And I
going to
think
be
that is
like,
why.
well, people are going to say well, we've like, what's a way to maybe fix things going on with people? We've tried it. We've made like certain environments where like if you go to a mall, you notice how there's like a lot of like palm trees or there's stuff around.
Mm,
Like they're trying to create some positivity. I think we should definitely make more areas that are like more natural just so we don't seem like we're so much in a structure. I think like that's
yeah,
the biggest flaw in society is that we just have too much of like globalization of people. We should just
yeah,
make it more peaceful by like instead of having buildings side by side where you don't even have a lawn, create more like trees, more sustainable things
yeah.
that we have. But like we did try that at one point. There's a thing called death by coconut. I really recommend looking it up. It's about the amount of people that have died by falling coconuts. It's a fucking lot. Like the worst one I've heard was there was a dude lying in a beach chair, and a lot of this people that are listening, this isn't just random, and
Yeah,
that whole lead up I had to it is kind of it's true, but it was more like a long drink for whatever a short
yeah,
drink of water. But it's because I'm staring at the palm tree that you have on the green screen in the back. So a dude was lying in a beach chair, and like how the back of the beach chair is like a metal bar where your neck
yeah.
is. Well, the dude put his neck back on it, so it's like he's leaning his neck kind of like the back of his head kind of curves off the back of the chair, and a fucking coconut
Oh,
fell, and a coconut can weigh up to 5 pounds like a small bowling ball, and it falls like 65 miles an hour. So it fucking hit him in the forehead and broke his neck and killed him that way. And then I was like, how many people have literally died by coconuts? And in the interest sparked when I was just looking up random articles on the internet, and I found this one, like there's not as many shark deaths per year compared to a coconut.
so
And
the question was shark or coconut, not bear and shark.
Exactly. It's a pina colada can fucking kill you. And I was looking because I went to Hawaii and I saw these signs, and it's like the pedestrian walking or the deer crossing signs. Well,
Yeah,
it was people, and it's in red lettering on a white sign, and they were running. And then there's coconuts, and they were falling off of a tree. And I was like, "What is that?" And it was in Hawaiian language. And I actually started researching what that was, and it turns out that like there's an actual large amount of people that die by falling coconuts, and a lot of
that's
them like
mad.
came from malls. People that
Yeah,
would create a mall, they put a palm tree up in the mall. Dude, there's countless records of a coconut falling and landing in a baby stroller and killing the fucking child.
terrible.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
we're learning as people. Like,
yeah,
how are you going to install a gene chip in your fucking head if you're having people die by coconuts still? Like,
exactly.
this really boggles my mind of like, what are we
Yeah,
prioritizing as people?
yeah, completely agree. Just plant different trees. Don't stay away from the palm trees. Is the thing.
We
I don't
should
know.
be less like orchids where we just are trying to be as beautiful as possible,
Mm,
and more like cactuses where we're all about surviving.
yeah,
Like we have this mindset of being like this beautiful thing that's going to open up and then it's only valuable for this certain amount of time and then it's gone, like a rose.
yeah,
But let's be like cactuses. You don't need to be the
yeah.
prettiest things out there. Let's just learn how to survive and do it right. Like a cactus can grow through the hardest of things, which
Mm,
we've seen in people that they can do. And
yeah,
they're also fucking able to survive basically anything. When
yeah.
a disaster happens, I don't think anybody was prepared for this shit. And
No,
we're just living on this fucking floating rock through space that can go at any
yeah,
minute. Like, what?
yeah, yeah. I remember watching when sort of in the UK when our Prime Minister Boris Johnson did his. It was about 7 o'clock in the evening, and he did his speech saying, "Right, we're going to full lockdown. That's it. You can go out and get food, blah blah blah, whatever the restrictions were." And I remember seeing it and thinking, "This is this is like." You hear people in the past talk about like monumental events and whatever that you never forget. And I was thinking, this is just like a movie. I'm hearing these words and I'm thinking, what go what's happened here, because everything just changed from that moment. It's insane.
And
So
we don't
crazy times to be alive.
we don't have a Superman to stop a meteor from hitting our planet. You know who our Superman is that stops meteors? And that's freaking, I think it's, what is it, Venus or Mercury? The one planet that's like, there was a giant meteor that was coming headed towards Earth, like that would have leveled this fucking planet, like the
Mm,
whole thing, around October. but we didn't really hear about it because the gravitational pull from either, I think it was Mercury, pulled it in and actually took the hit for us. So it's like the reason why there's all
Crazy.
those craters on Mercury and stuff is because it's literally like our shield. It's like our
Yeah.
knight in shining armor that stops all these giant things from happening. But like nobody realizes how much every second is just being held together. Like you think, oh, I could get shot.
Yeah.
No, the fucking world could explode. The world could just
Yeah.
stop turning. Then next thing you know, we have Keanu Reeves trying to save everybody. Like, who are we going to look towards to fix any of these issues? I'm looking at Neil deGrasse Tyson, but he just seems like he'd rather be a meme than try and help me out in this
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. It's crazy. Who knows what 2020 will bring? But it does. It reinforces like the thought of Ready Player One and those sort of theories where things will get. Hopefully, it doesn't happen, but things will get so bad, you'll just put your headset on, and that's it. You're in, you're in the real world, like Matrix and things like that. You escape.
What boggles my mind is the amount of people that rather, well, I guess I can understand it. It's just the fact of like people that slip into their reality, like or their fake reality, their video game reality, and they're
Mm,
just like they're so enjoyed there, but they're not enjoyed in real life. I think that's like the
yeah,
issue. Like so many people play World of Warcraft because they can escape. It is an escape. It's wonderful.
yeah,
But like that's where all their fun and enjoyment comes from, and they start believing that's the reality. And that's actually I was on a Joe Rogan podcast with Tim Dillon. They were talking about these people that chase and hunt down pedophiles.
mm,
Are they? Or are they just saying they are and then videotaping it and putting it online where they have this, they're
yeah,
living in social media as these heroes because that's the life they want to live. And then even
yeah,
finding those guys, are they doing that or is somebody just messing with them and
yeah,
they're thinking they're saving people? So they're building up their mind that there's this hero, but they're really
yeah,
in person in reality. They just kind of suck. It's like,
exactly. Yeah, that exists, and in so many different forms. People that are taking a picture of particular things and posting it on Instagram or whatever and pretending they're living some luxurious life and they don't. And there are so many levels of that just because of the likes or whatever. I've just done everything I sort of all the things I post online and all the podcast, everything. I just do it because I like it. There's no expectation. If people enjoy it, it opens up opportunities. People like you and so on can reach out, and it broadens my world in that sense. But yeah, it's all good.
I'm trying to think if you could be in a movie, what movie would you want to live in?
I would like to live in Blade Runner, I think, which fits
Ah,
very much into our conversation because Blade Runner is a reality, like a future. And I definitely see could happening. You've got this huge sort of metropolis of a place and loads of different languages, and you've got the robotic side of it, and you've got the terrible weather because we've ruined the environment. Yeah, but it's so cool. Flying cars, everything looks like an anime. Amazing. From a selfish, shallow level, definitely. I love Blade Runner. It's my favorite film.
I want to go back to like a more simple time. Like I would want to live in like not Lord of the Rings era, more like trying to think. I guess Lord of the Rings is a cool thing, but there's too many shit like giant ass trees and stuff you
Yeah.
got to watch out for. So that's when you really want to talk about plants taking over. Fuck, the one that just picks you up and rips you in half. Holy shit. Uh, I don't know because I like to think like Harry Potter. That's still kind of old
Yeah.
school. You still have the flying car, but it's a
Yeah.
little more on that
It's
realm of magic.
wholesome,
Yeah,
isn't it? Yeah,
get to go to
definitely.
school and teach spells and
Yeah.
shit.
Or the one I should have said really was Star Wars. Huge Star Wars
I was
fan.
gonna think that
You
one because
know?
I have a sticker of a clone trooper on my laptop right here. So I
Yeah.
was like, do I want to though? Because then I'm like, yeah, but the space shit,
But
like I'm not about all that. I don't mind space travel. I just don't think everybody should be allowed to go to space Because then you got people that are going to try and create the Death Star, blow up planets and shit. And then like
But
it's
that's
this.
it.
It's the concept if we lived underwater in a community, like, you know how cool
Yeah.
that would be to live underwater in like a giant
Yeah.
dome and just be like, oh shit, we're underwater.
Yeah.
But there's going to be somebody, like, imagine if there's only one tunnel in and one tunnel out. So it's like there's going to be
Yeah.
some person that just sits there with a gun to the glass, like, somebody better suck my dick or I'm shooting a fucking hole in this thing. And you're like, oh, here we go. It's over. Somebody get up there and take the bullet.
Someone's got to ruin it, always. But Star Wars for me, I've always loved Star Wars because it's rooted in real life problems. You've got, you know, you've got these people at the bottom trying to live peacefully and trying to get by, and then you've got this huge like government as such that's spoiling it for everyone, and the divide of borders and all this stuff that's in Star Wars. You can think, oh yeah, that's
I changed my answer. I want a Pokemon movie.
Pokemon movie. That'd be amazing.
I feel like
Yeah,
if I had my own personal Pokemon,
yeah,
who would you choose?
that would be incredible. I've always really liked. Oh God, what's his name?
Guess you didn't like him that much.
Krogunk.
Yeah, okay. I agree with that. I
would want to be Brock with Krogunk.
All
I
right.
think. Yeah.
That's a good one. I always choose Totodile.
Yeah.
Even though I could go to Florida and get a real gator myself, I'd just rather have Totodile. And then, like, I would still want him to evolve into, like, for alligator, that giant thing. I'm like, you know how badass that would be? Like, you don't want a bitch Pokemon, like the trash bag one.
No.
Like, what the fuck? Like, the ones that
No
they create now, I'm like, there's no manliness behind it. I remember Suicune was the shit. Everyone wants like one of the legendaries, but I'm like, now if you look at them, they all look like
that you can ride on, and
this one's my fucking washing machine, like with googly eyes on it. I'm like, this isn't fun. Like, I want something that's like not too close to reality. I want something that's like, damn, that's a small little alligator that throws up water at people.
I love Pokemon. I think Pokemon's got that whole very wholesome, nice sort of thing to it. Apart from it's the darker side where you think about it, they're basically making animals fight to the death. But you know,
I'm about to mind screw you right now. Ready? Imagine you ever see the Pokemon movie, the very first one?
Yes, but I'm not too.
When Ash fell off of his bike, imagine if this whole thing is just him in a coma.
Imagine that.
Like, just marinate on that. His mom gets older. He never fucking ages. I used to be like 10 years younger than Ash. Now I'm like 10 years older than the guy. Like, he keeps going to regions, and Officer Jenny always looks the same.
Yeah.
Every location, every single place. She's just constantly hot. Imagine if you married the wrong Officer Jenny, and then you're like, got like 50 wives. Technically, it's still you, but that's my sister. But you guys are identical. So did I really do a bad thing, or am I just smart? I think that's been This Week in Metropolis, people. Matt, thank you for coming on to the show, brother.
It's been a pleasure, man. Thank you for inviting me.
Please.
It's been awesome.
Promote the show, because I'm going to have hopefully both of you and James on to really experience the full force of Metropolis.
Yep. So This Week in Metropolis, we have random conversations like this about technology and movies and just cool stuff that we like. Episodes every Wednesday. We're having a break though, next couple of weeks. So depending when this show comes out, we'll probably in a couple of weeks' time from this show, and we'll have some more coming out. And that's the logo there on my t-shirt. So yeah. This Week in Metropolis on all social media, and just a plug for myself, King Porteous. Search King Porteous, see my art, reach out, say hello. Great.
That has been This Week in Metropolis on Out of the Blank.